Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Design, Create, Inspire. Today, I am very excited, as I always say, because I have a topic that has been asked and asked about, and for some reason, I have not done it. And it's not that I'm putting it off, but I don't know why. So, today, I'm talking all about passing the AREs as a parent, as a mom, what my recommendations are, how do you get through it. So I have 6 tips. Knowing me, there will probably be more, but roughly 6 tips that can hopefully help you get through it. Just because you become a parent does not mean you have to put your studying on hold. It may change things up a little bit, but you don't have to put your dreams of becoming a licensed architect on the back burner or on hold. So I'm going to give you tips that helped me through it, give you a little bit of my story with it. I talked about this a little more in my video about being an architect and a mom, but that was a little of a different video. So this is going to be more geared towards the actual strategies that you can use to get you through this tough process. Before I begin, I have another part of the exciting news is that I am finally launching my small group coaching program. So I've been wanting to do this forever. I've been bombarded with questions and asking, hey, when are you going to get this rolling? A couple of years ago now. Gosh, I can't believe that. I did a small course that was more of like a business course. This is going to be different. This is an intimate setting of I am hoping to cap it at about 10 people, although I've already almost filled more than half of those seats, which is amazing. And so I want to help as many of you as possible, but I also want to keep it as an intimate setting so that we can really work together. We can be kind of vulnerable and feel comfortable doing that because the type of things that we're going to be talking about are a little bit more vulnerable. So I don't want a program that's just going to have like 300 people in it. I want it small. I want it intimate. But what I'm going to be mainly teaching about, what we're going to be talking about is the I don't want to say the mental health of getting through the exams. I'm not a psychologist. I also know that that can scare people away. But what I'm really wanting to work on is helping people get through the exams that have maybe a block. Maybe there was some fear on even getting started, and so you haven't even scheduled your first exam. Maybe you have watched a million videos, taken a bunch of practice things, but you haven't actually gotten in there and taken an exam. This is for you. If you've failed an exam and were really brought down because of that fail, this is for you. If you have gotten through part of the exams and you've failed one and you keep failing it, this is for you. If you have gotten through almost all of them, but you failed one and you just can't pick yourself up again to study and get back to it, this is for you. So I have been there. I have been in all of those shoes, and I wish that when I was going through it, I had someone to help me, to support me, to coach me on how you get through it. We don't really need another ARE test prep program. We have those. There's some really incredible ones out there. I've recommended a ton of them in my ARE videos. I'm not looking to reinvent the wheel. I'm looking to provide support where I don't feel like there is support yet. Going through these exams is draining. It's difficult. Whether you're a parent or you're not a parent, it is not easy. And it needs to be talked about more. We need to support each other more. We need to figure out tactics where if 75% of the exams passing is knowing the material, but then there's this whole 25% that is the mental side of it. How do you take a test? How do you set yourself up for success with a test? How do you deal with anxiety? How do you, I'm not a good test taker. Okay, well, how do we push through that? That's what I need to help you with. That's my goal, because if we can't master that, then it doesn't matter how much we know. We'll freak ourselves out and it'll prevent us from getting through that. I worked hard. I've taken a lot of courses. I've done a lot of self work, read a lot of books. I want to take all those hours of hard work and energy and experience and bundle it up and give it to you so that you can pass these exams with confidence and feel good about it, not feel overwhelmed, not feel overworked, all that. So I am so excited to finally be launching this. We're starting it at I have to look at I have a link, but I believe it's the beginning of April. Once it is closed, which will be at the end of March, then I won't be letting people in just because it's an intimate experience where we're going to be working one-on-one or group on group, not necessarily one-on-one. But if you're interested in that, if that sounds like something that you would like, comment below. I'll reach out. Also, I'll put a link. You can check out the link. I would love to have you. If you're watching this, not in March of 2022, if it's in the future, still check out the link because we might be having another group at that time. So if we aren't, you could get on the wait list. You can reach out. Let me know. So I'm really excited to be offering that. I really hope to get as many people passed with these exams as possible. With that said, let's dive into today's topic. I don't want this to be a 45-minute video, so I'm going to try to keep it succinct. If there's more you want me to dive into, let me know again in the comments, and I'll dive a little bit deeper, or I can answer specific questions. So, how do you pass the architecture exams as a new parent or mom? Or maybe not even a new parent. Maybe you have older kids. I'm going to talk more specifically to parents of younger kids because that was my experience. So that's what I know. Let's see. So I took my very first ARE when my daughter was 11 months old. So that means I started studying when she was probably 8 months old or so. And I passed my last ARE when she was 2 years, 11 months. So exactly 2 years. And, so for the people who are, the unicorns as I call them, who finished in 7 days or 1 month, wonderful, great, not my experience, not the majority of people's experience. It took me 2 years. So, it all happened the way it needed to. I think that it was the best way for me to have gone through it. It allowed me to have a semi sort of balance of work life, home life, study life, normal life. I didn't want to rush through it. So I think that's an important thing as parents is that don't feel like you have to rush through it. We have so many things on our plates that if you try to rush through it, you're gonna seriously burn out and not be available for anybody. Okay, so I'm just gonna get through it because I'm gonna start going on tangents. My number one, they're not really in a number one, like this is the most important, but just my 6 things that are really helpful. The first is to time block. So if you're new to time blocking, I talk about this in my original ARE video, talking about failing, talking about time blocks. So you can go check that out. And there's tons of great resources online for time blocking. But I literally printed out a calendar of my week with the times and the days. And I would mark in when my daughter was napping. I would mark in when it was time to do meals. I then wrote in, okay, when do I need to work? So for me, I was working on for myself, and so I was able to time that into everything appropriately. So if you are working for someone else, your calendar would look totally different, but you still have things like, okay, lunchtime. So how can I put, an hour of studying into that block of eating? This is the time in our lives, it won't last forever, I promise you, but this is the time in your life where you are going to have to do things like study while you eat. You know, it's not ideal, but that was the biggest thing that helped me was the killing two birds with one stone. The most study time I got was at the gym. I would put my study materials on and I would just do hills on the treadmill. And that was the best way I could get an undivided hour of studying time done. Otherwise, I was studying at night. I was studying at lunch times, studying during nap times. It had to be very strategically placed in, and that definitely wasn't ideal, but it made it work. So check out time blocking. It's a really big help because it allows you to at least get a little bit of something in each day. So even if it's 15 minutes, it's still something. It's still getting into your brain. So time blocking is number one. Number two, prioritize. So something that I think is important when you become a parent is prioritizing what is, important, of course, what's right, what's needed at that time. Of course, our kids come first, families first, work, obviously, very important, but then studying for these exams during this stage and period of your life has to be one of those top priorities. I didn't do a whole lot of extracurriculars. I had to say no to a lot of things once it got down to, the week or 2 or 3 before the exam. I just had to kind of hermit myself a little bit. But you have to give yourself that priority and you have to put the exams at that top. If it's not that important to you, it will get pushed back. So it has to be something that you're willing to kind of sacrifice other things for. You don't obviously sacrifice having a kid, but maybe sacrificing a little bit of sleep. So I used to work a lot at nighttime. Once I would put my daughter to bed, then I'd go back downstairs and I would work and I would study. So it's not easy, but again, you kind of do what you got to do. The other thing is prioritizing your health and your sanity. So when I did fail an exam, I gave myself grace and gave myself the time afterwards to breathe and recoup, spend that time with the family, kind of get back into a little normalcy of life before I jumped back into the studying again. So give yourself a little grace after you take an exam. It doesn't have to be go, go, go. And I think that's the thing as parents that we don't necessarily have the luxury of, that so many of these people who talk about knocking one exam after another, I don't think it's as doable as a parent. So that advice might not be one that you should take as a parent. People that are giving that advice might not have families, and maybe they do. It works for everybody's different. This is what worked and what didn't work for me. Number 3 is number 3 is get as much support as possible. What I was going to say is basically the last 2 weeks, get extra support. So hopefully, if you have family in town, if you don't have anyone who lives near you, having some sort of support, whether it's friends, whether it's maybe one of your kids' friends, parents, hired help, anything like that. The last 2 weeks is so important to get a little bit of that extra help so you can really focus on the studying. I would batch my studying throughout the 2 months that I was studying for an exam, but that last 2 weeks I went really hard on it. I tried to give myself a little bit of grace the last couple days before the exam, but at the same time, usually I was really pushing hard the last 2 weeks just to get through it and get it done. So really trying to get as much support, outside support as possible is huge. Number 4, audio. Audio is a lifesaver, especially when you have little kids or any kids, but I listened to it while I was driving. Of course, it's great to spend your full attention on your kids, but if you can have an AirPod in, I mean, this is full on multitasking, but if you can have an AirPod in and be listening to contracts while you are, playing or cooking dinner, it's, again, it's not going to be your kid's entire life, but it's a small blip in time and it's so important. I think back to, the dates of I was basically in hardcore studying from the time my daughter was 6 months old to the time she was three, and even past that because then I had to take the California exam. So basically until she was 3.5. First of all, she doesn't remember a thing. Second of all, I still have I had so much quality time with her. I don't have any memories of that being wasted because of studying, even if I was multitasking. So, um, again, it's a small blip of time. It's hard work, but if it's something you're passionate about, you prioritize, you figure out creative solutions. One way that I have heard other women, or this doesn't have to be just mothers because it's parents too. I know women, we have kind of a different role typically, traditionally. So that's why I often talk about that. But I know that there's a lot of dads too who have reached out to me of, how do I even study when now I'm coming home and, my family needs me. So I think it's for everybody. But anyways, one trick that I found that other parents use is they'll make flashcards for what they're studying and then they play it with their kid. So there's some sort of way you can play with the kid. You're studying too. So you have to get kind of creative with how you can incorporate them into your studying. One thing is, yeah, even I would talk to my daughter. We would go when I was driving her to school. They were doing road work on the road on the pipes, and she's very curious, so she'd say, hey, what are they doing? And so I would go into explaining what was happening, how the water flows, how the slope had to go, how the pipes come and how they're drawn, and just talk about plumbing. But this is a whole nother thing, but one stage of learning information is once you can teach it, you have it registers differently in your brain. And so I knew that when I was teaching her and trying to put it in a kid's term, layman terms, it was putting a whole different perspective in my brain, and it was teaching her something really valuable. We talk about moment frames and shear walls and plumbing, which luckily she was kind of interested in. But also it put it in a different perspective in my brain that is stuck, and I knew and learned the information in a totally different way. So get creative with it. Number 5, be easy on yourself. Give yourself grace. It's not easy. It's okay to take breaks. It's okay to take sanity checks. It's okay to reach out to someone and say hey, this is really freaking hard and I need some help right now. It's also good to find a support system. So whether it's a friend or a colleague who are going through the exams, whether it's some anonymous person on the internet, whether it's me and you're reaching out to me for some support, or you're joining our group coaching so that you can get and find that support that you need. Find support, because this isn't easy. It can feel really lonely. It can be a lonely process. I felt really alone a lot of times before I found a support group. And it's important to give yourself grace. Otherwise, you'll burn out, you won't get it done, and it won't be worth it. If you give yourself grace, you get yourself through it, it will be worth it, and you'll be so, so happy you did it at the end. And number 6, always start and think and move forward with the end in mind. What's the end in mind? To be a licensed architect. So work through each stage knowing that and working towards that, reminding yourself that. When you have been studying, the baby's been awake all night, you have to go to work and you're about to lose it, remember, I'm going to be a licensed architect. I am going to be a licensed architect. This will be worth it, and the light is at the end of the tunnel, and one day it'll all be a distant memory. I promise you, because I was there and now I'm here, And I've been licensed for over 2 years now, I think, or something like that, which is nuts. I feel like I was just in the throes of it all. So you have to remember, yeah, give yourself grace. One thing too that, with the whole working a lot and studying a lot and worrying that maybe you're missing out on your kids' experiences or you feel guilt about that. One way I got through that was knowing that my daughter was learning from me and seeing how her mom was working hard to become something that she was passionate about. And I think that taught her a really good lesson. It teaches her about goals, and that women can do anything and parents can do anything, and you don't have to just choose between being a parent and a career choice of your dreams. You can do it all. It's hard and whatnot, but you can do it. So it's really important. Find out what works for you. Work through those helpful hints or whatever. Let me know what you think. That's kind of my overall gist of it. I hope maybe that helped you relax your shoulders a little bit. Give yourself grace. You will be an architect. You will get there. It will be okay. Okay. I hope that helped. Join my group coaching if you are interested in it. I would love to have you a part of it. And reach out if you have any questions. Have a great day.